Hello and welcome to another edition of the E-commerce Odyssey podcast. I'm here with Valon from Behamics, and we're going to talk about how to minimize cart abandonment. So I think let's start with the basics. How big is the problem of cart abandonment, Valon?
Hey, Trevor. Thanks for having me here. The car abandonment is a big problem. Like usually you see numbers which are like 70% of carts are abandoned, and this is pretty much standard with a bit of a difference, a variety across different industries. But that's how big the problem is. So this is costing shoppers, and this is costing not only shoppers but also like shops a lot of billions per year, especially these days, because before there was this conception that, hey, we can bring more traffic, we can drive more traffic to the store, and this is how we grow. But now traffic has become very expensive, especially with these updates in privacy from Apple and other like Google and other big players in the game. So it's become more and more expensive to drive traffic to the store. And with this, car abandonments are becoming a bigger problem in e-commerce.
So would you say that? I mean, what do we mean by cart abandonment? Because obviously you've got you've got the cart, right, and then you've got the checkout, and then at what point would you say, are we talking about people not completing the buying process, or are we talking about people adding things to their cart and not going to the checkout and not buying things? How would you measure it?
So the car abandonment rate or the car abandonment is the process when a user or a visitor, they add something to the cart, and then at some point in time during the shopping process they just leave the store without buying. And this can be they are just browsing around, they add a product to the cart. This can be they go to the cart and then they leave the store. And this can even go further than just going to the payment page and then starting to add the details, and then they just leave the store. So pretty much a car abandonment is considered everything. As soon as you add a product to the cart, then you leave the store. That's pretty much the definition of the car abandonment.
Okay. So does this vary across platform at all? Because my e-commerce business has got a Shopify store, and one of the reasons we moved to Shopify is because it has their standard checkout. Does that help?
Well, I mean, based on the definition of the car abandonment, which is again like adding a product to the cart and leaving at some point or some page within the store, it doesn't really have to be on the payment. It can be also like you don't go to the payment at all, and this means that the payment page is not the only solution. You can try to optimize a payment page, but the problem is that the car abandonment starts as soon as the consumer adds something to the cart, which means that you can optimize a payment page, but you can have other pages like the card or the product detail page, which are not like optimized, and they need some optimization, which can cause a car abandonment. So you need to kind of like work on all different pages to try to optimize this. It's not enough just having a great page, pretty much.
So it's the flow. You've got to work on the whole flow, purchase flow throughout the site.
The whole funnel, pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So what are the main reasons why cart abandonment take place?
There are like two categories or two main reasons why car abandonments take place. The first is there are issues within the store. There are errors, there are bugs. The user interface is not good. For example, you go to the payment page, you click pay, and it doesn't go through, or you add a product to the cart, it doesn't go through, or you want to remove a product from the cart and then go to the to the payment page, and it doesn't work. So pretty much these bugs, these errors, these API failures, these user interface failures are one of the reasons why cards are abandoned. So this is more the technical perspective. And the second reason is the behavioral perspective. We're talking here about like consumers have difficulty of making a decision. So it's more in the behavioral psychology perspective. So what happens within the store is that users or buyers have to make a lot of decisions. For example, if I look for a t-shirt and I go to the t-shirts page, you usually see like 20 to 40 different t-shirts, which are pretty much similar.
Hmm.
So for me as a user, it's really hard to make a decision. And this is something what's called paradox of choice, when you have so many options to choose from and you get suffocated in the decision-making process. So what happens here is like you pick two or three products and you add them to the cart so that when you go to the cart, maybe hopefully you can make the decision there. When you go to the cart, what usually happens is that you are in the decision-making process to decide which t-shirt to pick, and then you have shops or brands trying to upsell to you with similar options by recommending you additional stuff. And this actually suffocates you more, because the more decisions you have to make, the harder it is. And we as humans, we make easier decisions when we have less options. The more options we have, the harder it's for us to make a decision. And again, as humans, we like to push the decision-making as much as possible in the future. So because you have this paradox of choice, because you have to make so many decisions within the store, users pretty much leave the store without buying, because again, it's hard to make a decision when you have to pay something.
Okay.
So these are like two different reasons why users abandon the cart. It's from the behavioral, it's from the technical perspective, issues, bugs, but it's also from the behavioral perspective, behavioral psychology perspective.
Okay. So what are the, tell me earlier, there are some misconceptions about cart abandonment. What are these things, and what are the things that people think about a cart abandonment which aren't actually right?
So the biggest misconception that is out there, and this is more from the brand perspective, is that when users add a product to the cart, brands or shops think that the user has an intent to buy the product. So that's why they try to push the user to add more products so that they can hopefully buy. The cart is actually a wish list, is a short list of products you want to buy. So when I go around, because I said I have so many options to choose from, I don't know which one to pick. So what I usually do is, like, I pick 2-3 different t-shirts and I add them to the cart. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to buy these 2 or 3 different t-shirts. It just means that I'm shortlisting. I'm shortlisting the options where I have to make a decision. Instead of making a decision out of 4 different t-shirts, I pick 3, I add them to the cart, and then when I go to the cart, I have only 3 options to choose from. And the big misconception here is that I'm going to buy all 3 of them. No, that's not really the case. It's just about shortlisting the options I can make a decision from. So this is the biggest misconception. The other big misconception that leads directly to cart abandonment is the belief that upselling is great or upselling is good. Upselling is definitely good. It's really important, increase your revenue, it increase all the KPIs you need, but you need to know when to do the upselling. For example, if you try to upsell a lot, you can actually lose the consumer, because you're just suffocating the consumer with more and more options to choose from. If I have a budget to buy only t-shirt and I go to the cart and then suddenly I see more options, I get more confused. And then what happens is, like, I just leave without buying. So pretty much in the upselling terms, you have to understand when to upsell and when to stop upselling and focus on closing the deal, closing the order. So this is another big misconception. The other big misconception that leads also to cart abandonment is that providing more options to the user, more options in terms of product listings, more options in terms of payment options, more options on delivery options, these will lead to less cart abandonments and higher revenue. This is also partially false and partially true, because going back to what I said earlier, users usually abandon the cart because they have so many options to choose from, and we as humans are really bad at making decisions when we have a lot of options. So the more options you provide, the more decision has user to make, which means that the user will just get suffocated and then will leave the store. So pretty much when the process is simple, when the users have to make less decisions, when you support the users to make less decisions, then users make faster decisions, and then this can lead to a sale instead of a cart abandonment. If we talk about, for example, let's say payment options. Payment options is a really, really good topic, and you actually brought it up before the call, because there is a misconception that if you provide more payment options, this will increase your revenue. Yes and no, because the user has to go to this and say, okay, which one is the best one to make this purchase? Is it like buy now, pay later? Is it through PayPal? Is it like credit card, whatever? So why, for example, would you provide a buy now, pay later if I'm about to buy a t-shirt which is like $10? Why do I have to see this option? So what I mean by this is that you need to support your consumer. If you know that the consumer won't buy or won't pay through buy now, pay later option, why do you have to list this as an option? Just help the consumer to have less options to make the decision faster.
Okay,
so this is it's kind of like a support, or yeah.
So what are the solutions that you would recommend to reducing cart abandonment? So we talked about the problems. Let's move on to solutions.
Yeah, so the solution, they depend on which of the cart abandonment reasons you want to solve. So if we're talking about the technical issues, so you really have to have in place a system that tracks all these issues and then attributes these issues to the cart abandonment. For example, every single error or bug or whatever API failure can be attributed to the cart abandonment, and then you go and fix these. And the thing here is really important that whenever you change something within your store, regardless if you use Shopify or Magento or whatever, whenever you push something new or something, the chances of an error taking place are very high. For example, if you add videos to the product detail page, you believe that this is going to increase the revenue, but this can fire back because you might have the videos might be too large, they can slow down the page, maybe they fail to load, and this can fire back on your revenue. So for that reason, you need to constantly check for these errors, monitor these errors, and fix them right away, because this can cause you a lot of harm. And based on our estimates, usually these account for 30 to 40% of the total cart abandonments.
What technical errors?
Exactly, yes. And a lot of stores, a lot of clients that we work with, big mid-size enterprise level, they have a lot of issues, a lot of errors, technical errors. And we tell them, hey, you have these errors and they're causing you cart abandonment rate. They are not aware how severe the impact of these errors are. And that's why it's really important to have a tool in place to be able to see which error is causing you how much money in damage, and go and fix them and escalate the problems. So this is the most important thing, constantly monitoring for errors and having a system that does this monitoring system and fixing them right away. Because you might think that this don't have a lot of impact, but they do. Because if an error happens on the payment page, this can pretty much lose you like a sale. So this is the first solution, the technical reasons, or to tackle the reasons that are because of technical issues. And the other solution regarding the behavioral part, the behavioral users, in that case, the most important thing is to make the process as simple as possible and use, let's say, AI-driven system to predict if the user is gonna buy with a credit card or buy now, pay later options. And if you see that, hey, the user is going to buy with credit card, not a buy now, pay later, then you should not provide this option of buy now, pay later, because you're just going to confuse the user. Or if you believe that the user is ready to buy and doesn't have a chance of adding more products, then you should stop upselling, because you just confuse the user. So these are like some options that you can actually provide to tackle the behavioral side of the
You're saying it's
abandonment.
AI like. Can you recommend any AI tools which do this?
Maybe I'm going to be a bit biased here, but yeah, I mean that's what we do at Behamics. So pretty much at Behamics we have this system in place that does all these predictions and decides, okay, should we list the buy now, pay later option for this user or not, or should we stop upselling now or not, or should we simplify a process or not, right? So this is pretty much what Behamics does all these predictions to understand how to actually provide less option to the user so that the buying process is as simple as possible.
Okay. So what would this, just getting from a kind of a basics point of view, because I mean, if you're a smaller business and I'm guessing there's some things that you could probably do first, right? What are they? You were talking about earlier about how it's in, the upselling and stuff like that are the very simple things which people can do, which kind of almost mimic, there's a kind of first step before they look at using a tool like yours.
Pretty much go and monitor the technical errors, the technical issues. and fix them right away. But not do just like one time fix and that's pretty much it. But like constantly monitor for these, because these can happen all the time. Okay. First, make sure that you track whether your product images are loading. Second, make sure that these product images, they're not large so that they can slow down your page. Third, so these are like things that you can actually monitor constantly, and you have to make sure that you fix them right away. There is a conception that these don't really cause a lot of harm, whatever, but they do. Like a failed image, this can cause a lot of harm. It's actually one of the most common issue that happens out there that actually can cause a lot of harm in your sale and whatever, because it doesn't look good. The user doesn't see the product. Why the user would add this product to the cart when there's a failed image or the image is not loading? And this can happen very frequently. So these are like some technical issues that you can actually fix and monitor constantly and fix them right away. This is the first part. And from the other part, the behavioral part, just try to make the process as simple as possible. Don't try to suffocate the user with like 10 different payment options, with trying to upsell all the time, like trying to provide a lot of products. Just make the process as simple as possible and try to advise and support the user, because that's the most important thing. The user has a short time window on your shop. They have usually like 5, 6 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, if they are about to buy, but usually they have like 2, 3 minutes. So this is the most important part. If your shop is complex, a lot of options, a lot of different banners, whatever, they just get confused and they leave the store without buying. Okay. So that the best systems out there are the ones that are simple.
Okay. So keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So I've got a question. So talking about payments, how many payment options would you recommend? And what are in terms of conversion, what are the most important options to have? And what would you recommend to someone just saying, okay, I need to choose my payment options?
So there is a correlation that the more options you add, the better revenue or the higher revenue is going to be. Or the conversion rate. There is a correlation there. But again, there is no option or no solution to fix everything, because there is no average user. The average user doesn't exist. So there are users who would like to buy with a buy now, pay later option. There are users who buy with cards. So this completely depends on the user behavior during the shopping process. Again, if I am about to buy a T-shirt, which is like $10, I'm not gonna use buy now, pay later option.
Okay. So would you say, okay, just talking generically, right? Coming from a veil of ignorance, what would you say as a starting off point would be the best payment options? So
the first starting point would be to see the product. So there are like 2 KPIs that you need to measure in your store to decide about the payment options. And the first is like how big the average order value is. Yeah. This is a real important thing, because again, for low price products or low cards or low orders, you need a buy now, pay later option.
So what would be low, like $50 or something? Or
yeah, $15, $20, $30. That's pretty much it. So this is something that is real important. If you have like big orders or large orders in this case, then you would need to add the buy now, pay later option. But if it's a small order, you have to really make sure, okay, which payment option is the fastest one. Again, just imagine a scenario. You have to understand your user before, of course, you make a decision. But like, imagine a scenario. I sell T-shirts, $10, $15, $20, and usually I have 1 to 2 T-shirts per order that are purchased. So this user is a user that probably is riding the subway, going to work, saw an ad from your shop and clicked the ad and added the T-shirt to the cart, and it's about to buy. I don't have a lot of time. If I don't close this purchase during this subway ride, I just go to work and forget the whole thing.
Right.
So if you ask me a lot of options like, do you want to log in or log out? Do you want to create an account? this and that, and let's go with buy now pay later option where you have to be forwarded to a different page probably.
Yeah.
These are like time consuming pages. So you have to understand the user. If the user is the one that is a user that makes a fast purchase and a small purchase, then you have to provide options that are easy and quick fix, like let's say PayPal or even a credit card, whatever. But if you're selling big orders where the user usually purchase through desktop or shops through desktop computer or something, then they have enough time because they're like just sitting on a sofa, just enjoying their time, browsing around. They have enough time to go through buy now pay later options. So this is the most important thing: understanding your user. How fast do they make decisions? How fast do they purchase the order? So these are like KPIs that I have to measure before deciding for a payment option. So there is no solution to fix everything, pretty much.
Okay. So what about shipping? Would you say that offering free shipping is a way to reduce abandonment?
It is, but this can also fire back. So cart abandonments are directly connected with product returns. So if you try to push the users on site a lot to purchase the sale without them being sure that they want the product, and this can be done, for example, by providing a coupon. Let's imagine a scenario: I come to your store and I see 2 products or 3 products, and I go to the cart, but I'm still unsure about these products. But then you have, let's say, a tool that provides me a coupon intelligently, And I was like, oh, good, I'm going to get the coupon because I get like 20% discount. I buy these 3 because I know that there is also free shipping. And then when I have these 3 t-shirts, because again, I'm not interested to buy 3 t-shirts, but just because I was unsure which t-shirt to pick, and I had a free shipping and I had a coupon discount, I bought 3 of them. I take them at home, I make the decision, I keep 1, ship 2 back. So what happens here is that your return rate, your product return rate increases a lot, increases so much that you actually will lose money if you do the whole math. Right. And that's what actually happens with a lot of big fashion stores. So what we have seen from the data is that when coupons are provided and free shippings are provided, usually product return rates, they skyrocket. Which means that this will cause them to lose money instead of making money, because every product that is returned, it's less likely to be sold again as new because it's open, it's tried on. There are so many things. You have then shipping costs to ship the product to the consumer, to ship the product back, to refurnish, repackage them, hopefully resell it. So that's kind of like the math behind it, because a lot of brands, a lot of store owners, they only do the math on site. Okay, I'm providing coupons, I'm providing free shipping costs. Great, my revenue is increased. But in order to do the whole math, you have to also include the returns on the analysis and see, okay, which one makes sense. And if you include the returns, this one makes sense pretty much. So shipping is something that you really have to see. Do you have high return rates? If you have high return rates, it's not always good to provide free shipping. If you have low return rates, and even if you increase a bit the returns, it won't cause you a lot of harm, then you can provide free shipping. So it's a matter of understanding your store, understanding your users, understanding your KPIs, and then seeing, okay, which one makes sense. From that perspective, pretty much, yeah.
So what about obviously abandoned cart emails are very popular as a popular way of how would you optimize a abandoned cart email? What would you put in it?
So the emails are really, they used to work a lot in the last like 2-3 years ago. These days, what we see from the data, which is really interesting, apparently users have understood the trick. So they abandon the cards. In some cases, they abandon the cards on purpose because they know that they'll receive an email with potentially a coupon on it.
Right.
So we have seen from the data, we have seen a lot of cases to the clients where they use these type of emails, and we've seen that consumers, they abandon the cards on purpose. even if they have a high probability of buying, they abandon it on purpose. Just that they get the email and then they come back with a coupon and then they add the coupon and then they buy pretty much with a coupon.
Mm-hmm.
So they are good. They are good. They work, but they don't work as they used to before because of this.
Getting savvy.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It's tough times, Trevor. Tough times.
It is definitely
tough times. Inflation is high. Inflation is high. Everything is expensive. Markets are going down. Yeah, so they have to find ways to
those pesky customers. So what about, okay, so I've got another question for you. Shipping options. I mean, how do you communicate? Because I believe that that when people get the checkout, they're surprised by the shipping, and that's a major reason for cart abandonment. How do you communicate the shipping options to people and this information before they get to the cart to reduce that abandonment?
Yes. So if you do have like shipping costs, it's really important to understand when to communicate that. Of course, you should not communicate it in the beginning, but you should also communicate it too late. So you have to really make sure that you communicate this to the user that is about to buy and has a high chance of buying. So pretty much if you communicate this in the beginning, the user maybe has a high intent of buying, but then they see this and then just get thrown off pretty much. So we do have actually, which is a really interesting topic, but like we do have some predictions at Behamics where we actually predict when is the right time to communicate the shipping costs. Or there are also like the vice versa case, when to communicate to the user that there is a free delivery or free shipping costs after a specific amount in the cart. Because there are usually some conditions, for example, like if you have more than $100 worth of products in the cart, there is free shipping. So this is also very common, and this is the same story. If you communicate it too early, you're gonna lose the sale because the user will say, "Oh, yeah, I mean, this doesn't. I'm not gonna buy $100 worth of products." Maybe they will, because maybe they will find something interesting on your store. But they don't know that in the beginning. So you should not communicate this in the beginning. You should only communicate when you believe that the user might add these products or might add $100 worth of products later down the process. So all these restrictions and everything that are related to the user, it's really important to not communicate them in the beginning. It's important to communicate them during the shopping process when you believe that the user has an intent or has built an intent to actually buy. So these are like some of the cases that you should really be aware of. So in the beginning, when the user lands on your store, the user has to only focus on exploring your products, browsing your products, and seeing what the user can find or might find something interesting, and not like deal with delivery costs and shipping costs and everything that are important, the payment option, whatever. So they have to focus on the products. They have to focus on the shopping experience, and that's why I said the simpler the process it is, the easier for the user to make a decision. Because again, even if you provide free shipping costs, a lot of coupons or whatever, and you have so many options for the user listed on your platform, it's going to be hard for the user to make decisions. Like just imagine yourself, like it's like going to an exam and you see like, I don't know, like 200 questions within a page, you're gonna lose your mind pretty much. You just gonna, even if you know all the answers, you're just gonna get stressed and you just fail the test pretty much. So that's the same story here. So
okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot here, right? We're going to say, okay, imagine you know nothing about a website, right? You know nothing about the customers, right? I'm not going to tell you anything, and you have to make a decision. I'm not going to accept any "it depends" from you, right? Imagine you had like a generic website, and you have to advise someone who they want to start up a new business, and they've got no idea where their customers are, they've got no idea where their products are, and you have to just choose the average across all industries. What would you recommend them to do to reduce checkout abandonment?
Yeah, like first of all, fix all the technical issues. This
Okay,
is
so
the
what
most
are the top
important thing.
three things they should look for? Technical issues. And what
Like
platform should they use?
yeah, so image not loading, images not loading, large images which can cause speed latency. Make sure that the page loads fast, it's smooth. Make sure that the UI is simple and clean and
Okay.
not overloaded with a lot of options. For example, you see in a lot of shops you have, for example, a lot of triggers, a lot of like 10 minutes to get a discount. It's kind of like time pressure nudges, you know? So
So
these are not like,
you'd avoid that kind of thing, like those kind of things where it says, order in the next 2 hours to get next day
yes,
delivery.
yes. I mean, these are really important. These are really important. But again, as we're talking about when they use the lens on the store, when they use the lens on the store, the user has to focus on whether I can actually browse in your store. And for that reason, you have to have a simple UI, a fast loading page, a simple transition. For example, make sure that you have a lazy loading, which means that when you click a product, you get forwarded right away and not like taking like 4 or 5 seconds to go to the product detail page. If you click the card, you get like transition fast to the card, for example, or have like a slide in card type of thing. These are like some simple UI tricks that can actually have a huge impact. But the most important thing is like keep the user interface as simple as possible and as clean as possible, because this is the most important thing. If you provide a lot of information, a lot of content, this is pressure to the
So
user,
keep it as
to
simple as
everyone.
possible, you think? Just
Keep
get
it
rid
as
of
simple as possible.
okay.
Yes.
And so what should this theoretical person free shipping or not free shipping?
Free shipping is important. Yes, free shipping is important. If you can provide free shipping, it's important, pretty much. So you should provide free shipping. Yeah.
Okay. What about I'm trying to what about the cart page? Should it have should the shipping you try and tell the user what the shipping is on the cart page?
Yes. So if there is a free shipping, then you should make sure that you highlight this from the beginning on.
Okay.
But not flashy and not something like, yeah, this is our main value proposition to you, right? So your value proposition are the products listed. It's the simple, efficient UI of the store. This is the value proposition. It's not the free shipping. There are like millions of other stores that provide free shipping. You know,
What kind of information should you have on the product page? Should you have, because I've been told that you should try and have as much information on the product page so people don't need to click off the product page and go and try and find the return details or the delivery details. What do you think about that?
yes. So on the product detail page, you should definitely highlight the free shipping. You should definitely provide an option where they can read more about what is the delivery or the return process. How does this work? You should also provide ratings and reviews. This is really important. Ratings and reviews have a huge impact because users want to know, okay, how good is this product? Because the ratings and reviews provide a validity to your a stamp to your product and to your page, because it not only means that this product was bought, but it also means that other users bought from your store. Because usually what happens with small shops is that they are not known. You click an ad and you land there, and you want to make sure that other users bought from this store, and it's not a complete scam. There are a lot of scams out there, and they don't want to fall for that. So ratings and reviews are real important. You don't have to put like a huge page of ratings and reviews, but you can get the top ones and make sure that they are like about the fold, so that the user can actually see it right away. So these are like some of the important information, and not try to upsell right away by recommendations. That should be below the fold, pretty much. So you should scroll a bit and then you should see the recommendations. But on top, on the first page, like ratings, reviews, maybe the top ones, that you provide free shipping, that delivery or returns are possible, and it's an easy process of returning products. So these are like some of the information. If you have discounts, you should provide a discount. Um, but it's also really important because it depends a lot on the product you're selling. If you sell like electronics, the ratings reviews are the most important thing for electronics, for example, right? Because you're buying something that is expensive, and you really want to know if this thing will work or not. So that's why reviews and ratings are important. And then you have to provide also some details about the product, whatever. But if you sell something in fashion, then you can also go with recommendations, because when you buy a t-shirt, maybe you want to complement with some shorts or something. So these are like some of the cases where you have to make sure what you want to do. If it's electronics, then it's less likely that you're going to get a complimentary, because the electronics, it really costs a lot of money. But with t-shirts or fashion, you can provide complementary products. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So would you be against having something, because sometimes they have people have a pop-up which just before they go onto the checkout, which says, have you considered buying these items? Would that break your rule on simplicity?
It really depends on how you trigger this. So these are good, and we have seen that they really work well, but it depends on how you trigger this. If you trigger like all the time without any condition, whatever, this can cause you a lot of harm. But if you trigger it on the right time, this can support you a lot, because it's not only that, but it's also, you can provide a pop-up to ask for email or a phone number or whatever, so that maybe you can try to upsell later to email or phone number or whatever, right? So it really depends. It really depends on how you trigger this pop-up, and you have to make sure that you don't trigger it when you can actually lose the sale instead of getting the sale, because users can get annoyed. Pop-ups are not fine, right? Annoying. So they're annoying. So
okay, so we've got onto the checkout, right? How many payment options?
Usually like two, 3, 4 different options, but not more than that.
Would you say, so for example, credit card option, PayPal, do you think that's important?
It depends.
No depends. We're not doing depends here. We moved on from depends.
Exactly, but like it depends on the demographics, pretty much. For example, if you're from a country that PayPal is not widely used, then why should you provide that?
Right,
but
okay.
PayPal is something that you definitely need to provide, because it's like a fast option. And buy now, pay later, if you're selling big orders.
Okay. What about things like Apple? What about things like Amazon Pay or anything like, I don't know what other ones are?
Yeah, these are also like we're trying to these days. So these options can also be listed there. Yeah.
Okay. I think I might have slightly run out of questions now. Anything else? What else?
Well, I guess that's kind of like it. So
I think I picked your brains like, okay, I've got like, let's you've done a good job. You fielded all the questions. You've done well. Okay, look, let's one last question. I like to ask a fluffy question at the end. What do you do when you're not thinking about checkout abandonment?
Painting, pretty much. So
that's pretty cool. What do you paint?
Usually nature. I like to paint nature. Like I do have some techniques that I usually use. So I like to paint nature, like
oil?
Something calm.
Watercolors?
Oil, yeah. Yeah, oil, yeah.
Okay. Do you sell your paintings, or what do you do with them?
I just store them. Maybe a gift to my kids or grandkids. So.
Okay. Nice. That's cool. So you do you actually kind of go out in the country to paint, or do you do it from a because you're in New York, aren't you? Do you imagine the countryside?
I just imagine the countryside.
You just imagine the countryside.
Staring at the concrete jungle. Yeah.
So have you collect scene whilst from your apartment?
Yeah.
Imagining when it's
okay. refreshing. Yeah.
Excellent. Do you listen to a bit of Beethoven or something to get you in the mood?
Yeah, sometimes just like listen to nothing, just like focus on the painting and enjoying the process, right? Because that's the whole idea of painting, because you want to enjoy the process, right? You don't want to get distracted with something else, because that's the beauty of it, right? You just get calm and then just see, okay, how you can actually do it, and try different techniques and think, okay, what should I paint now? Should I paint like a river or a bridge or a small house or something, a tree here, like just playing around, I can see what happens at the and trying to learn different techniques, which is also important. Maybe you paint a tree with a different technique last time and now with a different technique. You just kind of like try new things out pretty much. So
Okay.
that's the beauty of it. And then you see, okay, how should I paint the mountains? Should I go with a brush or like a different brush, because there's like so many different brushes out there, and every single brush is specific to a specific technique and to paint a specific thing like a tree or a mountain or a bridge or whatever. So the whole idea is like trying to experiment with different brushes and techniques and see which one is better for a specific thing that you're painting right now. So yeah.
Okay, cool. I can tell you're a great experimenter. It's all
Yeah, I do like that. Yeah, I do like to experiment things. So yeah, there has to be a degree of randomness, I think, in your life in a way, because otherwise it's just like it's kind of like straightforward and boring, and there is no novelty here. It's like going to the same restaurant every day, all the time, right? So maybe you risk going to a better restaurant if you try to explore other things or other places, but the chances are also very likely that you might find a better restaurant if you do some sort of randomness. So randomness is really important. And this also should apply to making decisions. You have to leave some sort of randomness, because
have you read the Dice Man? Have you read the Dice Man?
I don't know that,
You
but
don't know that
it's just
book? Okay, well,
no.
you are the Dice Man. So the Dice Man,
Okay.
it's a silly book, really, but it's one of those kind of slightly nihilistic 70s novels, and it's
Okay.
about, there's this character who decides to live his life by rolling dice. So shall I rob a bank? 1, 2, 3, yes, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah.
no. And he goes through the whole book doing that. And
Okay.
it's
So what happens? Should I
I don't
read the
know,
book?
carnage. I mean, it's one of, it's one of those fantastic, slightly misogynistic male fantasy 70s books, which I don't think could get written anymore. But it's
Okay.
kind of it's escapism. It's just some guy just going around doing what he wants to do on a whim. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's a holiday read. So
Yeah.
give it a go.
Yeah.
Give it a go.
Yeah.
That's my
Maybe
tip.
I'm a dice man. Maybe I'm a
In a
dice man
little way,
30%
in a
of the
small,
time.
a
And
little bit of
30%
dice
of
man
the
is
time.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
Valon, good
30%
to
of the
chat to
time.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for your insights.
Thanks a lot, Trevor, for having me.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.